since the endorsement of Peter Obi by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has brought about the question about the value of political endorsements as we head towards the presidential election. The ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, and the People's Democratic Party, PDP, have played down the endorsement, calling it irrelevant. Also, the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, has described the endorsement of his counterpart in the Labour Party, Peter Obi, by President Olusegun Obasanjo as an endorsement of failure. Sowore described Obasanjo as an overrated Nigerian ruler who fetishized the ruination of Nigeria. He said rather than an Obasanjo's endorsement, he would rather be satisfied by the people's endorsement. Joining us on this show this morning to discuss his thoughts on the value of political endorsements is Omoyele Sowore, presidential candidate of African Action Congress, AAC. Welcome to the morning show, Sowore.
Thank you, Dr. Happy New Year to you.
Yes, same to you. Thank you very much. Well, the last time I checked, I mean, you must be a young man, you know. But look at those words you were using to describe former President Olusegun Obasanjo, a man who had been head of state, who was president twice, and you are saying his intervention is an endorsement of failure. That is fetishizing something. Are you aware that when all this is over, you still come back to this Yoruba land? Why are you so harsh?
I have known the former president for as long as I've been conscious politically, which was in 1989. And you remember that in 1993, before 1993, we had a tiff with him in the pro-democracy movement when he was aspiring to become the Secretary General of the United Nations. And we opposed him very violently, not violently, but, you know. And it was because of his records when he was head of state in 1970, you know, that, you know, his tenure ended in 1979. And we knew what he did. It was based on that record that we opposed him not to become the Secretary General of the United Nations. And in 1993, you saw what he did. In 1979, by the way, he was one of the people who made it possible for one of the best candidates at that time, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, to become the president of Nigeria through, at the point I think they had that two-third mathematics that made it impossible for him. And he's always been part of those who made it impossible for Nigeria to attain democracy. As early as 1993, he was part of the people that conspired with the military to say Abiola, who won an election, wasn't the messiah that was wanted for Nigeria. When he became the head of state again, the president of Nigeria in 1999, by the end of his tenure, he didn't want to leave. So it is best to say that he's an embodiment of failure, because if he wasn't a failure, he would have been looking to endorse people to be continuously trying to become politically relevant. The country would have been on autopilot by now. The country would be doing so well. He would have left the country for the young people. But these are the same people that told us in the 70s that will be leaders of tomorrow. This is 2023. Those who are supposed to be leaders of tomorrow are still being told who to vote for in an election. So I was just really pissed off, dissatisfied with this kind of godlike behavior on his part. If he could oppose Awolowo and come back to Yoruba land, if I oppose him, I should be free to come back to wherever land I decide to go back to after this election. If I win, I'll be everywhere. So I am just giving you historical facts, so that you can understand that where I stand on this issue. I've always been opposed to him, not new, and I look young. I'm 51 years old. And that means we have about 40 years apart going by his age. But I've been part of the political process since the 90s.
In Yoruba culture, you are not supposed to insult an elderly man.
Well, in Yoruba culture, there is a parents that is very popular, which is Omodegmo Agbabola Fida Ilefe. That is an elder doesn't have monopoly of wisdom.
I'm glad that you've talked about this, and also the cultural perspective of your responses to some of these issues around cultural respect. And a number of people have said that perhaps that is a challenge in the political climate of Nigeria, where young people are suppressed under the guise of culture. So don't speak out against an elder, and so you see what is not right, and you're asked to keep quiet. But away from that, do you think that, I mean, some people have described sometimes your responses and reactions as being very, almost violent, so very, very intense. Is there a better way to doing this? And the second thing I'd like to still speak to, perhaps for you to just again talk about the value of an endorsement. Are you saying that you don't want anyone to endorse you? I know you've said only the Nigerian people, but would you be, I mean, the Northern Group had just endorsed you a few weeks back. It was reported. Are you saying you're not interested in any endorsement? Is there value in endorsement?
I'm interested in alliances, and people can be endorsed without having to denigrate themselves. And my own position in this particular case is that I don't need the endorsement of those who ruined Nigeria, and I'm very clear about it. I'm not going to go to the home of a former president who destroyed this country to say, hey, please endorse me so that I can be like you. No. The kind of endorsement I want, like I've said, is from the people. Let the people decide who their leaders should be. And people who are on the departure lounge of life, technically, should not be dictating the future of young people whose future is at stake, especially when we've done everything possible to ensure that young people like myself don't grow in this country to become who we should be. And I don't want that to continue with the generation that is coming and whatever generation that would follow that. So that's my position on this. So like you said, we use culture when it's convenient for us to suppress voices. But don't forget that the same Obasanjo has always been opposed to anything he doesn't like. It doesn't matter whether you are older than him or younger than him. There are times he had issues with people who were older than him. There were times he had issues with people who were younger than him, like Fayose. There was a time they almost came to blows in somebody's house. So when these issues here is not about culture, it's about the survival of the Nigerian people. And that's more important to me than the side conversation about culture, because 2023 for me is necessary turning point for the country if you don't want to tip over. So, yes.
Okay, so I've got two things, and I'm happy you talked about tip over. I just made a tweet out this morning. I said, dear future president of Nigeria, please remember that as you come in, if you're sworn on May 29, you will have a 77 trillion naira debt.
Yes.
How would you fix it? That's the first question. Secondly, what is this romance you are having? Or some people I believe say it's hanky-panky. You are having with PRP. Because the PRP has a presidential candidate called Abiola. And there's this alliance that you see PRP, you vote for AAC, or you. I don't know what's going on, because a lot of people say it's nebulous. Is it that Kola Abiola have to step down for you as a model, or you step down for Kola Abiola? What is happening?
See, the PRP has two factions. That's the truth. Just like the AAC had two factions at the point. But the faction that we're in alliance with, the PRP Vanguard, that's the regional PRP. That was funded by Aminu Kano, I think in 1978. And that party was taken over by Balarabe Musa. So the Abiola faction is not the one we're involved with. They reached out to us, this PRP Vanguard, that they want to be in alliance with us. I went with them in Kano and sealed it. So it doesn't take away from them the originality that another faction recognized by INEC as Abiola. I don't think that by virtue of my struggle for the Abiola family, that Kola Abiola should actually be struggling with me for the position of presidency, because when his father was Nkumbat in the annulment of the election, we did the fighting, whereas Kola Abiola